All right, so that got dicey late, but the Celtics are up 2-0. Man, that last little stretch there. So Derek Jones jumps what appears to be like 9 feet in the air to block Tatum on a layup. And then Jaylen and Derek White are right there. I mean, Jaylen, his hand was on PJ's back. But bro, when PJ Washington was going down on that fast break before that play, I was like, oh my God, this is not happening. And that was after Luka had that 3-point play on Horford where there was like no help at all. I mean, Drew was glued to Maxi Kleber on the wing, and I was like, okay, that's the way you wanted to play that one? I mean, like, granted, at this point, I mean, Luka's just making shots over whatever coverage they throw at him. The turnovers for him were a little high tonight. We'll get into it all, but yes, we did see Luka force the Celtics to make some defensive adjustments. Basically, they put two to the ball on him more often. Drew was great the whole thing. Kyrie, once again, not great. But let's start with the Celtics on offense, because I do think one valid question you could have for the Celtics is, okay, well, how does it look when the threes are not going in? Are they able to generate enough good two-pointers and all that? And to speak on those Celtics missed threes, I mean, the Celtics would probably just tell themselves, those are shots we make all the time. Some of them just didn't drop in this game. I do think that Dallas's defense, one, was just set earlier. I did think that they were able to get back a little bit towards the aggressive help that we've seen in previous series against the Wolves and the Thunder. Not as aggressive because the Celtics team just kind of puts that fear in you. But you got plays where like Kleber is aggressively helping off of, hell, even like Jaylen for one play off in the corner, or Drew or whatever. Or let's say PJ is hard helping off of like Jaylen in the corner, and then it's him helping on a Horford drive off against Gafford, and then Kyrie's rotating over from the wing to contest Jaylen in the corner. Like, I did think they were just sharper on all that stuff, which personally I do take into account when a team doesn't shoot as well from three, even if, like, obviously 3-point variance is a thing. Anyway, to talk about the Celtics 2-pointers. Well, in this game, the Celtics, they shot 20 for 27 at the rim. And of course, there's the given of just the Mavs bigs have to be more spaced out against the Celtics than any other team just because of the matchups. Tough to put them on anybody else like a perimeter player, right? And then you combine that with Drew or Derek White a lot of the time being in the dunker spot, and it creates situations where, like, Kyrie pretty much ends up being the main rim protector on a Tatum drive after he puts Luka in the action, which was something they did a lot in this game. Or it becomes, Drew, like, setting a ghost screen for Tatum and then attacking off the catch. And then, again, the floor is just more spaced out against these guys, right? Or it's, a couple of plays where they doubled Tatum when he was trying to go baseline. And one time, the defense kind of fell apart and led to like a wide open Jaylen dunk. Another time, it was Tatum drawing two on Josh Green and Lively, I believe. And then Kyrie was like kind of helping in from the wing, and Drew read that, so he's just cutting for a layup. You talk about the perfect vision of Drew Holiday for your team, where off of like Jaylen driving on Luka, which begins the chain of drive and kicks, which eventually leads to Drew getting wide open for a corner three. Or, I mentioned the dunker spot. A number of times he screened for Tatum or Jaylen in this game. Like, it's just the perfect thing where Drew doesn't have to take a million pull-up jumpers all game, and he can still have a massive impact for you. He had a lot of defensive possessions on Luka and Kyrie in this game. I'll talk more about those two in a second. I do want to talk about, Tatum and his overall game, because that was a conversation on Twitter. My stance is pretty much this, man, with Tatum. Obviously, he did not shoot well overall, but the passing, the rebounding, defensively, I thought his possession-to-possession solidness defensively, if that's a word, was good. Now, yeah, like, there were some shots made over him. Okay, look, Luka had some fadeaway twos over him. Gafford also had a couple of, like, post-ups on him, which, I mean, like, that's a mini subplot of the series, which is, can Dallas make the Celtics pay for having their wings and their bigs? And using your size to score on them is definitely one possibility, but also, let's not expect a bunch of Daniel Gafford post-ups moving forward. You might get a couple a game, and that's about it. But he did have 2 post scores on Tatum, so okay for what that matters. I mean, of course, Tatum, he's still switching, Luka screen actions. It takes the lobs off the table. This has already been established. But I did think, outside of still a couple of frustrating, tough threes or fadeaway twos that Tatum attempted in this game, and also some misses around the rim where, again, I thought Dallas was able to get like a little bit more of their aggressive help from the previous series. Tatum still did a lot of positive things in this game, but if you just want to look at the 6 for 22 and say, no, that's all I care about, I can't stop you. But yes, 12 assists, as well as some that did not result in assists. I remember that one wraparound pass that he had to Horford underneath the rim that was a foul. That one was great. I think this was in the first half where he's got Lively on him. It's just a straight line drive. I mentioned Drew in the dunker spot again, and Drew's right there for a finish. And again, because the Celtics space you out, that'll spiel. It's not as easy to bring help all the time on that sort of play. And as I talk about the spacing, I'm remembering the play where Jaylen had Derek Jones Jr. in the paint, and he fakes him out with something and gets a finish over him. And on that play, there was like no Mavs help whatsoever, and that's kind of the value of, even if the threes are not always going in, the spacing it creates in the middle there. As far as Jaylen through these 2 games, he's been good, man. I mean, I mentioned the going at Luka on switches, and this isn't to say that Luka's like some bad defensive player. It's more so, again, just put him in the actions. Like Drew screens for Jaylen to get the Luka switch, and then I think they draw a Luka foul on Jaylen off of that. Of course, his transition crossover in the beginning was great. The lockdown possession he had on Kyrie. I guess we can kind of go over to the other side of it. So, look, Luka, his shot making and all that has been great. I do think that his just from making tough fadeaway 2s and all that over Tatum or over Derek White. I mean, that was Luka's first shot of the game. Or whenever KP or Horford would be on Gafford or Lively, which felt like it happened a little more in this game. I mean, obviously the Celtics still prefer to have a wing on either one of those guys to switch or whatever. But whenever they do end up on the centers, Luka's going to that immediately. One time KP kind of like hedged on it, and then the goal is for Drew to fight back around, and then Luka's taking a pull-up 3 in the 1 second of window he's got, So, okay, Luka was cooking, so he actually did make the Celtics bring 2 on him. And then from there, what we saw was the one turnover that Luka had there, I remember the most, was when they brought like 2 or 3 guys on him, and then he has to make this like behind the head pass, and then Jaylen ends up stealing that. We're going the other way. One time he lost the ball on Pritchard. That was kind of wild. I mean, look at 8 turnovers. Of course, Celtics will take that. But as far as just Dallas making the Celtics pay enough, I mean, I'd have to look at the like points per possession and those sort of things, but I do remember like a Josh Green missed 3. I mean, Dante Exum making that 1-3 felt like a huge sigh of relief that Dallas just got some offense generated for him outside of the top 2. I mean, PJ, he had a couple of stretches where he was making some floaters off of the catch, but with Kyrie just not shooting very well through 2 games here, and we can talk about Kyrie now, it's just so damn tough for Dallas to score enough points against the Celtics defense. Like, Luka's doing his thing. I mean, hell, that one pass he had to PJ late there where he gets the Horford switch and then he acts like it's going to be a turnaround jumper, and then it's this bullet to PJ where there is maybe like a quarter of an inch of a window that he can get the pass in where it's going to be clean, and he manages to do it. Like, Luka's amazing. But if Kyrie's not getting buckets, I don't know if they're going to score enough points. I mean, he had, 16 on 7 of 18 shooting? Like, that's just not going to do it. And the thing with that, I mean, you got plays where Jaylen's just locking him up in a one-on-one. You've got Tatum stripping him when Kyrie's got to, like, turn his back to him for a second. Or it's a play where he's trying to cook against Drew in a 1v1, and that's just hard, so he's got to be forced to pass it out with, 8 seconds left on the clock. I mean, the thing with Kyrie, obviously he's a great player, shot-making, we all know what he can do. The handle, the whole thing, but he is still a 6'2" guard trying to score on either Drew or Derek White or Tatum or Jaylen. So it's tough. I mean, hell, there was a possession there where KP switched onto him and Kyrie missed a makeable 3. And also, for what it's worth, one of the very last buckets Kyrie had, might have been the last bucket, he got by Porzingis on a simple pick and roll up top, if that matters to you. But no, I mean, one big thing with this series, as the Celtics bigs are on Mavs wings, is that it's not Lively or Gafford who are rolling to the rim on these plays. It's, PJ or it's Derek Jones Jr. And then on top of that, you've got Tatum or Jaylen or, I mean, hell, one play I'm talking about the Kyrie missed 3 over Porzingis, Drew was helping off of Derek Lively on that play. It's the spacing's just not as great. So I don't know, we'll see with Kyrie. I mean, for everything I just said, he could take the exact shots he took in this game and he could just make 6 more of them when we go back to Dallas. So yeah, man. No, it's 2-0 going to Dallas, and I mean, look, my pick was Celtics in 6 or 7, so based on that, I do think Dallas is going to win Game 3, and then Game 4 is going to be something.